Good morning, everybody. And hi, everybody. I'm Ella Rianti Ruslan, the chairperson of the Voice of Young and Creative Minds organization. So let me speak in Malaysian language for the introductions. Then for the conversation, I will speak in English. Saya merupakan moderator untuk hari ini untuk forum yang bertajuk apakah tugas-tugas seorang pengurus produksi perfilman. Panel hari ini daripada Amerika Syarikat iaitu Kathleen Courtney. Beliau merupakan pengurus produksi untuk beberapa buah filem yang terkenal seperti San Andreas dan juga The Boys Next Door dan lain-lain lagi. Beliau juga pernah menerbitkan beberapa buah filem. Selain daripada itu, beliau merupakan pengerusi untuk Producers Guild of America's Green dan juga beliau merupakan salah seorang ahli lembaga pengarah untuk Producers Guild of America. Beliau kini berkhidmat sebagai pengurus produksi untuk beberapa projek di bawah Paramount Pictures. So, hi Kathleen, say hi to Malaysia.
Hi, so good to see you again.
Yes. Okay, tell us about yourself and also your experience such as others, such education and others.
Well, Kathleen. I've been a producer and a production manager for about 25 years, and then before that, a production coordinator. And that's pretty much it. And so it started with a passion, a moment, a spark, where I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. And then everything that I did after that, that was at 17 years old. Everything after that was like aimed exactly at that goal. And I didn't put any big pressure on myself as far as I didn't have to get to the top fast. Back in those days, we didn't have social media, and so you didn't have as much to compare. So there wasn't as much pressure. So what I ended up experiencing was everything that I did, my first job being a file clerk at Nana Stern Beers and Company. It's a certified public accountant, and they represented different showbiz people of that time. And so I went, I've made it. I'm in showbiz now, and that's how excited I was about every step along the way. And so everything that I did, I was a receptionist once, and I went, well, now I've arrived. And then, and so on and so forth, until finally I got to production managing in around 2000. And, well, actually that's not true, in 1995. And I built my way into producing. And then I found what I really enjoyed more was production managing. So I decided just to take a step back on my climb up the ladder and stick with production managing, because I like to be able to deal with the crew and the equipment houses. I like to deal with the budgeting and approving all of the expenditures, all those things that I do as a production manager. I'm involved with in the weeds, as they say, but just like in the thick of it. And when you're producing, you're dealing more with the studio and the cast and the directors, which after a while, I've been doing this for about 40 years now in this industry, and I realized that the last thing I want to deal with right now are the studios and the cast and the directors. So I really enjoy the gaffer and the key grip and all the best boys and the prop master and so on and so forth. I like the crew, or as we say, the below the line crew. I'm not sure if you remember that phrase from our days, but yeah, the below the line crew is where my heart is.
What is the difference between a producer, production manager, and also location manager? The difference, the short explanation.
Well, a producer can be many, many different things, as I'm sure you've heard. But let's just take it in the, let's take it down away from the creative, as you say, or as they say, place of the person. Like there's the people that bring in the script. There's a person that might know the star. There's the star. There's all these other people that that may be into producing because of some sort of involvement. But the bottom line is the produced by producer, which is what we call it, the one that gets the Academy Award. That person generally is the one that has optioned the rights to make that movie. This is, you know, again, just putting a big swipe over it, but optioned it and then shopped it around and tried to find the studio or you know, a form of financing, and then staying with it the whole time, staying with post, then distributing. That's the produced by producer. And I was talking about the line producer. There's various different ways that they refer to this. The least favorite being the line producer, but the one that's most used is the line producer here. And that sometimes has the title of executive producer, sometimes it's co-producer, sometimes they get producer. It depends on what their affiliate or what their relationship is with the production or with someone on the production. But a line producer, the person I report to as a production manager, is the one that goes between. They're the one that ultimately is responsible for the budget. So they're ultimately the ones that I'm responsible for delivering the budget as a production manager. They're responsible to the studio for presenting the budget. So I will work on it with a line producer and with the accountant, and we'll figure it out every week, doing a cost report, et cetera. And then eventually, at the end of the day, did we come in above or below or right on target? That's ultimately the line producer, in whatever they're called, that's their responsibility. And my preference is to service that position and then therefore be able to develop my relationships with the below the line crew, which is what a production manager will do, is be the one that hires the crew, that below the line crew, meaning everybody that is not a producer, writer, director, or star. So everybody else I hire, in kind of, you know, I mean, with some exceptions, and all of those expenditures I have to approve. Everything that's spent by the people that are not the cast, the producers, and all that. I'm responsible for the camera, grip, electric, makeup, hair, sound, locations, etc. So I circle over that. The line producer circles over me, and then location manager is just one of these arms. Like a location manager, they basically will report to a production manager. Sorry, let me say that again. Location manager will report to a production designer, and because the production designer is the one that will say to the location manager, go out and find me something that looks like an 18th century barn near San Francisco. Go. And so that location manager will be the one that will service that department and maybe have a few scouts underneath them. But they're not really in the world of production per se. They're one of the many arms. So it goes producer, line producer, and then it's production manager. And from the line producer also comes the production designer, comes the director of photography. So these are all of us are kind of at that same level. And then underneath them, the production designer will be responsible for the art director, set decorator, and the location manager. So underneath me is camera, grip, electric, makeup, hair, sound. I'm in like every department, and so but hovering more, you know, so when I say, oh, I'm in charge of every department, I don't mean like, yay, I'm in charge of so much, I'm so much better. What that means is that I don't have as much, it's not possible for me to have as much detail on those different positions, like a location manager, set decorator, prop master. All those people are really overseen by the production designer creatively. And then those prop master and the set decorator all come to me as the production manager and says, well, I know I have a budget of $20,000, but the production designer's vision says $100,000. So I don't know what to do. And that's when I come in. And I take it as far as I can, and that's when that's when the line producer comes in. So they don't have to deal with all of that until it reaches a point where I finally go, I've done all I can do in my position. Now, take it up the ladder.
Is there any criteria to be a film production manager?
Can you say that one more time, please?
Is there any criteria to be a film production manager?
Well, yes. Yes is the answer. Is it easy to define? Not necessarily. I mean, I feel like my whole life has led me to this, but it's the idea of being able to watch out over all of it and service all of it, be able to drop in, drop out, drop in over here, drop in, drop out, you know, like, and be able to read the room, to be able to see what's needed. Where should I be focusing? Sort of like the concept of Black Lives Matter. When you talk about Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that, you know, all of these other lives don't matter. It just means that right now we need to look at this life. Right now it's Black lives. So that's kind of the way my whole job works, is that all of these things, again, camera, grip, electric, makeup, hair, sound, all of it matters. But what's the biggest fire at the time? And that's what I direct my time to, because it's impossible for somebody like me, who is not an expert in each of those fields, for me to understand it. So therefore, the way that I deal with it up front, when I first meet the people, is say, I'll never say no to anything that you ever ask. I won't, and I can't, because you know more than I'll ever know about what you do. what I do know is how much money we have. So if what you're asking costs $20,000 and we only have 5,000, yes, absolutely, let's do this. But then let's look at where we're going to get that $15,000. And if we don't come up with that, well, that's okay. Then we go to the director or the producer and say, what's the most important thing right now? Because we can go forward and say, you know, that big auditorium that was going to be packed with people, well, maybe it's not as packed with people. And we take that money and we spend it on this crane shot that comes around and then comes around and does that, you know, something really special. Whatever serves the production and the vision of the director or the producer, depending on if you're talking about features or television, but whatever serves the vision is what's most important. Having said that, that vision has to fit within the square that it's got. So in other words, if you're building a house and you have 10,000 bricks to build a house, you could build that so that it's all those bricks going straight up and we have 3 floors, or you could be flat and there's 3 floors, or there it could go up and down, up and down. But whatever it is, you have X amount of bricks. And that's the way I look at making movies, is that these are our bricks to move around. However, whatever serves the production, whatever serves the vision, let's move this around and let's make it possible. So that's always the goal, is to be able to service that vision and take myself out of it, but keep my strengths or my you know, the different things that I've learned over the years, keep that going to help the production. And in the end, I've never come in over budget, but that's because all of the crew members work with me to bring it in on budget. So it's not just my job to say, no, you can't do this. It's sure you could do it, but how are we going to work this out? And once people are feel like they're being heard and being listened to as an expert in their field, once that happens, then it breaks down all sorts of barriers, and all of a sudden you have a clear line of communication and everybody's working in the same direction and everybody's following the same train track, if you will.
How much do film production manager make for one movie? I mean the average.
How long is a shoot? Is that what you're asking? How long do we shoot?
I mean,
A feature?
the salary for the production manager for the first movie, your experience.
Oh, that's very easy to find if anybody ever wants to look it up and keep up with it. A production manager can be found at DGA, Directors Guild of America, DGA.org. Wait one sec, I can't. Just getting on climbing up my so DGA.org is the Directors Guild of America's website, and in there there's a drop down menu where you could look up any of the contracts. I'm not sure what it is right now, but it's a lot of money. I mean, because I've worked the last 5 years full-time making movies, and then 13 Reasons Why and a few different TV things. Because of that, I can now retire because I worked in a row. the trick is, and this is where either you make it or not, is you figure out where your passion is, figure out like what are you ready to give up? Because for a long time there, I would, take tortillas and put some salt and pepper on it and roll it up. Isn't that good? Just try anything, boiled rice with some garlic in it just to stay full while I'm not working. So there were periods of time in this industry where I was telling you about at the beginning, where I was a file clerk and a receptionist. And even when I got into producing and production managing, for instance, when I moved here to San Francisco, I didn't work in my capacity as a production manager or a producer for a full year. So all that money that you made, that you're like, oh yeah, I made all this money, now it's split in half, and if you take that over for the course of your career, I probably make the same amount of money as, no offense, but like an electrician, because the hours that we work are longer, the amount of time that we don't work is longer. The amount of time that we do work is longer as well, but there's more of a third or a need for the crafts, if you will, the camera assistants, the grips, the electricians, makeup assistants, hairstylists. All those people are people that are skilled at their crafts. My job is to know how to manage those crafts and also how to bring that in on budget, which is equally as important. So, oh my gosh, I lost the question. I think I might have answered it, but I'm not sure.
What is the challenge and difficulties for the production manager to manage the low budget films?
Well, low budget film, the good news is that everybody on it knows they're on a low budget film. So in other words, there's when I've worked on high budget films like Daredevil the movie, or I don't know, like so many different Hocus Pocus or different movies over the years, people say to me, we've got all this money, we need more equipment. And I say, I know it looks like we have all that money, but we really don't, because all that money is going to Eddie Murphy or to, whatever it happens to be. And so, so the challenge often is, how do you convey to crew that are just trying to do the best job they could possibly do? And they know that the best job that they could do needs $5,000 more. Please, can we please have $5,000 more to be able to perform our job in the best possible way we can? And now I'm in this position to say yes or no. And again, we go back to, of course, just we don't have it budgeted, but let's sit down, let's talk about it. Can we take that cost down on that? Or is there a way to combine it? Or is there, and that is where the challenge and the skill comes in production management, is finding the way out. Our job is not to be able to present the problems. Our job is to hear the problems and help come up with the solutions. Our job is not to come up with the solutions. Our job is to talk to the experts again, the makeup artists, the hairstylists, all these people that know what they do for a living. Those are the people that are going to solve your problems. You know how to manage these people so that they want to solve your problems. Oh.
In your opinions, if you want to shoot, example, a wedding video, and then we want to upload it in the social media, such as Facebook, YouTube, do you think that we need a filming permit?
Um, are you asking, do you need a film permit no matter what it is that you're shooting, no
Uh,
matter if it's
I
big
mean,
or
just
small?
like a wedding video. If I want to shoot a wedding video, do I need a filming permit? Because I want to upload it in the social media for myself or for my friend to see it. It is not for making any profit. Just a wedding video. Do you need a filming
Well,
permit?
well, the idea of the permit is not whether or not you're going to make a profit. It's making sure that it's safe. So, in theory, like sometimes some governments might get a little bit greedy and make the permit more about making more money. But in theory, what you're supposed to be doing is providing the hours that you need, like in other words, when the prep starts and when you need to start blocking off parking spaces and when you need to start having police at different ends of the street because it's called ITC, intermit traffic control,
Oh,
intermittent traffic control, and ITC meaning that every time you go, okay, ready and rolling, then the cops know to go stop. So those things all come with money. So your question is, can you film without it? Sure. If you get busted, then you get shut down. So it depends on how much money you've got invested. If it's you and your cousin and your iPhone, then maybe it's worth it to try and grab something. But if it is, again, I say, costumes and makeup and hair and all those different departments, all those people are involved and invested in your 1 or 2 day shoot or your 1 week shoot, whatever it happens to be, then it's I feel it's your duty to get a permit because you won't be shut down.
oh.
Um, that's the main thing, is that you don't want the police to come up and go, show us your permit, and you go, I don't have one, and they go, great, you're done, and then everybody goes home, and now you've wasted everyone's time. Does that make sense?
Are you happy with your career now?
Well, you asked me at a good time because it's the end of my career, because I plan on retiring now. So I'm thrilled with my career. I'm really proud of it. Not all the movies were good. Some were really awful. Some were very good. Some were Academy Awards. Some were, my first movie was Slumber Party Massacre Part 2. So there's a lot of variation between Casino with Martin Scorsese and Slumber Party Massacre Part 2, but I don't think I look back on my career, which has just ended literally like a few months ago, and maybe not. I mean, we'll see if another call comes, but I really don't want to do it anymore. I mean, the new COVID reality means that the whole job has changed. So when I look at the way I approached it, and I went the slow route. Most of my friends sailed past me, and some of them are in charge of studios right now. But I kept working with a crew, and that's what I found I wanted to do. So, I mean, some of my really good friends are presidents of studios, which doesn't help me in my job necessarily, because, president of the studio will be in charge of getting the project, and then maybe the head producer and the director and then those people might hire the line producer, and then those people might hire me. So it's not like I necessarily benefit from those friendships, but I wouldn't change my experiences for the world. I've flown all over the world and done everything I wanted to do, and ended up in a place that I never would have found if it wasn't for Chasing Mavericks, one of the movies I did. So if you find your passion, whatever your passion is, it will take you through your life and it'll serve you. You just have to follow it. It's really, it's so simple. I wish somebody told me how simple it was at the very beginning, but then maybe I wouldn't have worked so darn hard, you know.
What
But it
kind of
really is.
films? What kind of films genre that you like and why? What kinds of film genres that you like and why?
I like any film genre that will hire me other than pornography.
Oh,
So I love them all of them. What's not to love about making movies? It's just, they're all great. Even, like I said, I did a Slumber Party Massacre Part 2. I've done Home Alone 2. I've done, you know, like you go back and forth between $100 million and $5 million. And like, that's kind of my range in there. And I really don't know much about the super low budget, but yeah, no, I think there's a lot of joy to be had at every level. And the trick for me, and I think one of the smarter things that I figured out, which I don't know why I figured it out, was do the things that don't pay you well at the beginning. So I did like Roger Corman movies, which are super low budget movies. I did that at the very beginning of my career. So that, because at one point in your life, which isn't that far after that, you'll go, I can't afford to do that anymore. Because, for example, at that time, a normal salary was, I'm going to say, $800 a week for this position I was in when I did Slumber Party Massacre. I made $400. And normally with the 800, I would be paid additional if I worked Saturday, Sunday, but I was paid no additional. I made less money on that than I worked from 7 in the morning to 2 in the morning. I loved that experience more than almost any experience I've ever had. Not because of the amount of work, but because everybody was doing it for the same reason. We were all in it to learn and to grow and to meet each other and to figure out what it is that we wanted to do in this industry. I wouldn't want to do that now. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do that now, because now I'm used to spending money to solve problems.
and
That's a
what
good way to put
advice would you give to aspiring youths and young filmmakers, especially Malaysians, to be success in the film industry?
Well, you know, I feel like everything I could say has the asterisks of it's pre-COVID. Everything I know is before COVID-19 came into play. So I think the only advice that's, I mean, the crucial advice, the number one thing, more than anything else, more than anything, is this your passion? Is this something that you're willing to go, like I did at the beginning of my career? I would do, as I mentioned, film clerk, I was a receptionist, file clerk, reception. I did like crazy, stupid little jobs. I would just be happy to be working on the Universal lot, but I'd be working in a phone bank. but I'm there on the lot so that in my lunch hours, I can go walk around. So I always had this passion that I could, and commitment that I could work anything, uh, uh, anything into a learning experience, and also into a way to develop contacts. And especially when I was so young that at the very beginning, which is what you're talking about in my career, I had nothing to lose. So I was very bold because I also knew there's nothing that's taken this away from me. This is my career for the rest of my life. And I don't know why, and I can't explain to you that. I can't answer that. I can only tell you that at 16 years old, I figured it out, and it was like, that's it. That's the rest of my life. And that was the rest of my life, which is pretty exciting. And most of the people I've met over my life have had that same experience of, at one point they realize it doesn't matter if I have to, say no sushi, no Starbucks, no movies, no, no. I'm going to give all those things up in order to stay very low key till I get a job. And then I could do this and then go down and get, it's always knowing that you're trying to have a year's salary in your savings account. If you can get by for a year, then you are safe to take things or turn them down. If you can't get by for a year, you might want to just take the things, unless it's porn. Not porn. Ugh. Please no.
Okay, we done our interview. Hope in future I can meet you again. Maybe, never know. Okay, that's all right now. Thank you. Thank you because want to involve in this conversation interview. Okay, that's all. Okay, bye.
It was my pleasure so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for calling me, and so good to see that you're succeeding. You were so good in class. It's wonderful to see you again. Thank you for calling me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.